Dr. Yechiel Leiter is a senior fellow at the Kohelet Policy Forum, Israel's leading conservative think tank. He's also CEO of the Veresta Group and has advised governments in South America and Africa. Dr. Leiter and Veresta are responsible for the campaign against BDS sponsored by in the movie we just watched, the Jordan Valley Regional Council and the Ministry of Strategic Affairs. Dr. Leiter will speak today about why we owe the BDS movement a debt of gratitude. Dr. Yechiel Leiter.
Thank you, Yaakov, for the kind introduction. I feel a little bit like the end of the Seder night after listening to Madhab Hassan Yosef. You know, after we eat the afikoman, we're not supposed to taste anything, so the taste of the afikoman stays in our mouth. After listening to Hassan Yosef, I think we should just leave with his message because it was so potent and resounding. I'd like to begin by saying a word of praise to Minister Gilad Erdan, who presented his ministry's efforts against BDS in a somewhat humble and reserved fashion. And I offer you proof about the success of Gilad and his office. The best proof is Haaretz last week. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention Haaretz at a Jerusalem Post convention, Congress, but I want to say it for this reason. 2 editorials attacked him viciously last week. For what? For his successful, aggressive campaign against BDS. So he deserves another round of applause for that work. This august conference is taking place following BDS-sponsored Israel Apartheid Weeks on university campuses around the United States. And a couple of weeks prior to the U.S. conference in Bahrain. Now, a lot of it has been said today from this pulpit, from this podium. Yesterday I spoke in shul, so I'm in the pulpit mode. But I'm going to talk about both and have a little bit of a different take on what's been said today. This is a case of opposites defining each other, an intersection drawing our attention to what we must move away from and what we should be moving toward. We need to move away from what has failed and move on to what's been proven a success. It's a case of sur mera va'aseh tov. What has failed is the focus on issues like the right of return, the redivision of Jerusalem, and the precise contours of a new Palestinian state. One American administration after another has frenetically tried to find the winning formula. Exactly how many refugees should return to Israel proper, exactly where the dividing line in Jerusalem should be drawn, and whether the Palestinian state will be established on exactly 92% or 94% or 97% of Judea and Samaria. What has failed is Palestinian rejectionism suffering no consequence, in which every Palestinian no is met with pressure on Israel to make more concessions. What has failed is Israeli withdrawals, unilateral or otherwise. We exit, terror enters. Israelis suffer violence, the Palestinians suffer poverty and autocracy. What has failed is Gaza, where Hamas leadership believes that human suffering can be alleviated by burning grain fields and raining missiles down on the heads of innocent civilians. Gaza with the highest unemployment rate in the world since the very successful disengagement from Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu has put a stop to this failed process over the past 10 years of senseless withdrawals. And the Trump administration is the first to extricate the American public and American foreign policy from this obsessive-compulsive disorder mistakenly dubbed the Middle East peace process. So, Somera, what is the Aseh Tov? What is it that works? What works is exactly what BDS and their legislative and campus cohorts want to destroy. What works is exactly that which we need more of. David El-Khayani can tell you what works. David is the mayor of the Jordan Valley. He's here with us in the first row. David, could you stand up for a minute to say hi? David is the mayor of the Jordan Valley, where 6,000 Palestinian Arabs earn their livelihood, working alongside Jewish farmers in cutting-edge agricultural projects. That number swells to 12,000 in the harvest season. Together, for nearly 2 generations, Jews and Arabs are producing sustenance for themselves, for their families, for many thousands of others. Together, they are learning how to turn the arid Jordan Valley into a food basket cornucopia. But it's really for many millions, because innovations applied in Jordan Valley agriculture can solve many of the problems associated with desertification and the absence of food security in developing countries. I know, I spent 5 years there. Water conservation and purification, advanced irrigation systems, and state-of-the-art farming methods are producing more food in less space, and it's happening in an atmosphere of coexistence and mutual respect. Yechiel Dilmoni, the Director General of the Yechiel Council of Jewish Communities in Judea, Samaria, and Gaza. Say hi, Yechiel. Stand up for a minute. Jewish communities in Judea, Samaria, and Gaza. He can tell you what works. He can tell you about the industrial zones where another 25,000 Palestinians are employed, many in managerial positions, in Barkan, in Ariel, in Kfar Adumim, in Gush Etzion. Yechiel can explain to you why, despite intimidation by Hamas, some of which you just heard from Hassan Youssef, and often from elements of the Palestinian Authority itself, these breadwinners don't miss a day's work. The plain fact is that those workers earn 2.5 to 3 times the wages that are paid in the areas administered by the Palestinian Authority. And, as required by Israeli law, the same Israeli law that the liars of the BDS dub apartheid law, by Israeli law, these laborers receive standard benefits, vacation days, health insurance, and pension plans. David and Yechiel can also tell you, and this is of the greatest significance, that for every job opportunity made available, there are many more takers. The 18.5% unemployment rate in Judea and Samaria can be reduced tomorrow to nothing. More industrial zones, more jobs. More opportunities, more prosperity. More prosperity, more coexistence. More coexistence, the greater the possibility for peace. Not kumbaya sessions with the European Union, but real, day-to-day peace between real people. But for this to happen, and it can happen immediately following Bahrain, a number of criteria must be met, in my opinion. They're sure not to be popular immediately, but I am convinced, studying the situation for the past 30 years, that it is absolutely imperative to have these 5 criteria in place if there is really a change to be made. They are 5 in number. Number 1, investment in job creation must take place in the areas that Oslo left under Israeli control, Area C. Let me say that again. Investment in job opportunities for the Palestinians must take place in the areas that Oslo left under Israeli control. The billions invested in Palestinian Authority have been squandered, stolen, and used to delegitimize Israel, not to improve the Palestinian standard of living. More investment coming out of Bahrain in areas A and B will result in the very same waste. 2. Criteria number 2. Implementation must be direct, partnering not with the present Palestinian leadership. I say that in reference to a statement made this morning by distinguished advisor to the President, Jason Goldblatt. Partnering not with the present Palestinian leadership, but with real people, large corporations, small and family businesses. Criteria number 3. The plan must include massive infrastructure development, including new highways providing for transportational contiguity, not territorial contiguity, transportational contiguity. Water, electricity, and gas lines supplying high-quality, desalinated water and efficient energy to the Palestinian areas through infrastructure corridors running through Area C. Criteria number 4. New social service centers, including hospitals and healthcare centers, must be built in conjunction with the new medical school in the heart of Samaria in Ariel University, opening up this September. Number 5, swallow hard. For all of this to work, a process whereby the gradual extension of Israeli civil law over Area C begins. Otherwise, the breakthrough potential inherent in all the above will be impossible. Therefore, I would urge that the Bahrain summit take place not under the headline, peace to prosperity, but prosperity perhaps to peace. And now imagine, once those criteria are in place, imagine that we go further. Imagine this also includes a land port that will alleviate import-export overload and security concerns in the Haifa and Ashdod ports. A land port that will service Palestinians throughout Judea and Samaria. And then imagine that the land port is connected to a free trade zone in the northern Jordan Valley, servicing Jordan, Israel, and the Palestinian autonomous areas. And now imagine that the new industrial parks and the land port and the free trade zone are all connected by superhighways and the railroads you saw this morning in Israel Katz's presentation through Jordan and Saudi Arabia to the Persian Gulf. This is not just for imagination, it's for actualization. If only we have the common sense to break away from existing paradigms, if only we have the courage to change politically correct but failed notions for concrete ideas that already work. It appears by all indications that the Trump administration has that courage. And then boycott, divest, and sanction can become best deal of the century. Thank you very much.